Tarek Cherkaoui, TRT World Research Centre Manager. And Tarek, thank you for joining us. Now, the situation in Idlib is obviously very fluid and changing. I want to focus in on that meeting that's going to happen between President Erdogan and President Putin. How do you think what's happening on the ground in the last few hours and in the coming days will change the calculus for that meeting and perhaps change the mind of President Putin?
Dynamics has shifted in the past few days. Indeed, the very high level of military prowess showed by the Turkish armed forces has created a new reality on the ground by using highly technical, very advanced weapon system in tackling the Assad forces, which for many years there was this myth that which was circulated by the Obama administration that the Syrian air defenses were equal to none, and that it would be very dangerous to intervene in the Syrian situation. However, the Turkish forces have shown that there is a way to address this, and in 4 days they have really shown the reality of the ground, and they have brought this barbarian way of warfare of the Assad regime into disrepute by showing the world that this is how the 21st century warfare is conducted. Now, of course, this has also an impact on many aspects, and indeed, as you mentioned, the meeting with between President Erdogan and President Putin is a very, very important meeting. I think both sides will definitely come to an agreement, and I am hopeful that a ceasefire is in the pipeline.
And Tarek, do you expect on the other aspect of this story, on the migration crisis, that perhaps something can be agreed to there? It does seem as if that crisis is escalating, worsening by the hour. There's going to be an EU meeting on it. What pressure do you think is going to be put on European Union leaders to try and come to some sort of resolution? We've heard, as Melinda said, that the Greek government in particular not going to register any new arrivals for at least a month.
Well, this is also a very important question. I think, I definitely believe that the European Union has committed a very big miscalculation all those years by keeping their heads in the sand and not addressing the root cause of the situation, that is the Assad crimes, the Assad regime crimes against humanity and against actually the civilian populations. This has caused a massive influx of refugees to Turkey first, but also to now, Turkey cannot bear this burden alone, and the European Union unfortunately refused to address the root causes, but also refused for a long time to acknowledge the situation of Turkey in giving all the shelter to these populations. Now the European Union has only now woke up to this reality after they've seen that there is a new wave or a new influx of refugees to their gates, and only then they are starting to make communication and start to engage with the Turkish government. Well, I hope this is not too late for that, but there is still room for negotiation, and I hope they will come to their senses and create a more strategic policy rather than just adopting this nonsensical policy of ignoring everything and not being present where it matters.
And Tarek, just on a wider point, and finally then, how do you think that what has happened in the past couple of days and what is going to continue happening in the coming days kind of changes the way that these international bodies like the United Nations, NATO, the UN actually view situations on the ground? We've seen quite ineffective practices by all these organizations in trying to really sort out what is happening in Idlib. How do you think that what has happened recently may change the way that those organizations work?
I believe these recent days have been a lesson, a Turkish lesson for everybody. It has been a lesson on the military scene. It has been also a lesson on managing refugee flows, because this is how Turkey has done a tremendous job in hosting 3.5 million of refugees and giving them access to healthcare, education, while many European nations, and we have seen the reaction of Greece, which has now killed just a refugee refugee in the border control. So this shows you the way how there are two approaches to this. Either we are all together in the 21st century, and this is what Turkey is trying to teach the world, that this is the 21st century. Let's approach all these things in a civilizational manner, or this will be chaos. And unfortunately, the European Union and a lot of the policies adopted by many international organizations were not sustainable, and they were not realistic, and they didn't address any sort of problems on the ground. And Turkey has been facing all these problems alone for all these years, and enough is enough. This was the message that was sent by the Turkish leadership to the world.
Yeah, and we'll see if that message is received. Okay, Tarek Cherkaoui from the TRT World Research Centre, thank you very much for that analysis. Okay.